For years, Chu Feng had crossed deadly lands, believing the greatest mystery lay beyond the next enemy. Instead, the Heavenly Road carried him to something far more personal. His father, Chu Xuanyuan, and the truth of a vast outer world, where lower realms are merely the first steps beneath countless starfields. He has now learned of his grandfather Chu Hanxian, the humiliation branded upon father and son by the Chu Heavenly Clan, and the terrifying secret of the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline. Yet when Chu Feng believes the deadliest path before him must be heaven punishment, his father reveals a name even more dreadful: divine punishment. Someone tell the kitchen to bring another pot of tea. Our wandering daoists have returned with enough questions to keep this pavilion awake until sunrise. I was dusting the old records when I heard familiar footsteps outside and thought, there they are, probably back from courting death somewhere again. Come closer, friends of the rivers and lakes, because tonight's tale has fathers, ancient bloodlines, clan grudges, and a cultivation technique whose very name sounds like heaven has personally filed a complaint against Chu Feng. The matter of the Moon Immortal had not yet been settled, and one question still lingered in Chu Feng's heart. The four great divine beasts had suddenly asked him to show mercy to her. But why?
Why?
In truth, Chu Feng had never believed the Moon Immortal to be inherently wicked. She had forcibly occupied the bodies of Su Ru and Su Mei, yet something about her actions made him suspect that there were circumstances she could not or would not reveal. Even without the divine beasts speaking on her behalf, Chu Feng had never intended to harm her without reason. But their intervention suggested something deeper, something connected to secrets from an age long past.
We gave King Chu Hanxian our word that we would never reveal the truth concerning his relationship with the Moon Immortal. Therefore all we can tell you is this: the bond between King Chu Hanxian and the Moon Immortal was anything but ordinary. Chu Feng, for our sake, and for King Chu Hanxian's sake, we ask that you do not harm her.
At last, Chu Feng understood. Their plea had never been born from simple sympathy. It came from Chu Xuanyuan, the legendary master they had once followed. Chu Feng had already known that Chu Xuanyuan and the Moon Immortal shared some connection, but even he had not expected the four great divine beasts to describe that connection as extraordinary. For beings as ancient and loyal as these four to guard the secret even now, Chu Xuanyuan's past with the Moon Immortal was clearly no insignificant chapter of history. Still, there was one boundary Chu Feng would never abandon.
If the Moon Immortal willingly returns Su Ru and Su Mei's bodies, then naturally I will not harm her. But if she refuses, she will leave me no choice. Su Ru and Su Mei are the women I love.
His answer left room for mercy, but not surrender. Whatever the Moon Immortal's true nature, whatever debt Chu Feng might owe her for saving his life, Su Ru and Su Mei had been deprived of their own bodies. That truth could not simply be ignored. This was one of Chu Feng's clearest lines in the sand. Gratitude mattered. Ancient relationships mattered. But neither could outweigh his responsibility toward the people closest to him. If negotiation failed, even an old benefactor could become an opponent.
If the Moon Immortal truly refuses to return their bodies, then even if you are willing to tolerate it, the four of us would never allow her to escape responsibility.
The vermilion bird, black tortoise, and white tiger all nodded. Their position was unmistakable. A faint smile appeared on Chu Feng's face. Warmth stirred within him. The four great divine beasts had pleaded for the Moon Immortal because of their old master, Chu Xuanyuan. But they had not forgotten the man they served now. Their loyalty had not erased their past, nor had their past weakened their loyalty. In the Jianghu, where allegiance so often shifts with strength and profit, that balance carried considerable weight. Far away within the Eastern Sea region, countless figures had gathered over a vast stretch of water known as the Heaven Sea. There was only one reason for such a gathering. This was the place where, once every year, the Heavenly Road opened. the legendary passage leading toward the Holy Land of Martialism. Then the sea began to roar. Thunderous rumbling rolled across the horizon as waves surged upward. An enormous whirlpool formed upon the heaven sea, then another and another. They expanded without end until colossal vortices seemed to cover the waters themselves. Suddenly, pillars of brilliant light erupted from the whirlpools one after another. They pierced the sky, converged high above, and wove themselves into an immense golden formation. Its upper reaches vanished among the clouds, while its lower edge sank into the raging sea. From afar, it resembled a radiant wall dividing heaven and earth, a golden sun transformed into a gateway between worlds. And at the heart of that magnificent formation, an entrance slowly emerged. Excited cries immediately thundered through the crowd. The heavenly road had opened. Yet despite all that excitement, not one person rushed forward. Everyone knew the legend. Beyond that entrance waited the Holy Land of Martialism, but the path itself was merciless. For ordinary cultivators, entering the heavenly road was not simply crossing a boundary. It was wagering one's life against the unknown. That hesitation revealed the true reputation of the heavenly road. Thousands desired what lay beyond it, yet desire alone could not overcome fear. A road to a greater world was meaningless if one died before reaching the other side. Without warning, space itself trembled. The heavens shook, the sea quivered. For a fleeting instant, it felt as though the entire world had been seized by an invisible hand and violently shaken. Cultivators with weaker foundations lost control completely, plummeting from the sky into the waters below. Panic swept through the gathering. Even seasoned seniors could not hide the alarm in their eyes. The disturbance had lasted only an instant, yet its pressure had carried the dreadful illusion of approaching catastrophe. None of them understood what had happened. The truth was almost absurdly simple. What they had mistaken for a world-shaking phenomenon was merely the sonic aftermath produced by several figures moving at terrifying speed. By the time the crowd began recovering from its shock, Chu Feng, the blind old man, and the four great divine beasts had already passed through the entrance and entered the heavenly road. The contrast could hardly have been sharper. To the cultivators outside, the heavenly road was a forbidden trial that inspired terror. To Chu Feng's group, merely entering it had become effortless. That alone showed just how far Chu Feng had climbed since his first journey through this place. Inside, endless darkness swallowed them. For a time, it felt as though they were traveling through a bottomless abyss. Then, far ahead, deep blue glimmers appeared in the darkness. The lights came from strange floating objects, each roughly the size of a watermelon. Countless such objects drifted throughout that immeasurably vast space, stretching beyond sight. Rather than a sealed passage, the heavenly road resembled an ancient starry sky, beautiful, silent, and profoundly mysterious. But beauty lasted only so long. As they advanced, dreadful cries echoed from the darkness. Anguished wails multiplied around them, and vengeful spirits emerged as though desperate to drag living souls into the abyss. Nothing had changed. These were the same horrors Chu Feng had encountered when he first walked the heavenly road, the ordeals that awaited anyone who dared travel through it. Only Chu Feng had changed. Back then, these manifestations had filled him with unease. Now his expression remained calm. His cultivation had reached rank 7 Martial Emperor, and his world spirit techniques stood at the level of a Dragon Mark, Royal Cloak World Spiritist. At his present strength, there were few dangers within this road that could truly threaten him, and beside him travelled the blind old man, a rank 5 half-martial ancestor. The same road, the same ghosts, the same darkness, yet an entirely different Chu Feng. This return was more than repetition. It was a measure of his growth. What once inspired caution had become little more than scenery along his path. Yet none of those things were what truly occupied Chu Feng's thoughts. He believed that the moment he entered the Heavenly Road, his father would know. Chu Feng had never forgotten what happened during his previous journey, when he and Tantai Shui encountered enemies beyond their ability to defeat. At that critical moment, an overwhelmingly powerful guardian statue had appeared and saved them. The one who had dispatched it was the old ape. But Chu Feng understood that the old ape had most likely acted under his father's instructions. As memories surfaced, a question echoed relentlessly through Chu Feng's heart. His father should know that he had returned to find him, but would he finally agree to meet him this time? Excitement and nervousness intertwined within him. He had crossed realms, survived death traps, faced armies, challenged monstrous talents, and risen to heights his younger self could scarcely have imagined. Yet before the possibility of meeting his biological father, that hardened heart still trembled. This fear was unlike fear of death. Chu Feng was not worried about an enemy's blade. He feared being judged unready by the person whose recognition mattered most to him. After everything he had accomplished, one uncertainty remained. Had he finally become strong enough for his father to acknowledge this meeting? Carrying that mixture of hope and anxiety, Chu Feng finally arrived before the magnificent gate he remembered from years ago. The gate itself remained exactly as it had been, standing wide open before them, but one detail had changed. Two majestic guardian statues now stood on either side of the entrance, silent and imposing like ancient sentinels guarding a forbidden realm. Chu Feng stopped. His eyes settled upon one of the statues, and recognition brought a faint smile to his face. With those words, Chu Feng stepped through the gate. Darkness engulfed him once again. And strangely, despite everything Chu Feng had gained since his previous visit, this place remained beyond him. Neither the perception of a rank 7 martial emperor, nor the methods of a dragon-mark royal cloak world spiritist could penetrate the surrounding darkness. Here, his mighty techniques amounted to nothing. Like a traveller stripped of sight, he could only follow the faint light glowing somewhere ahead. And that detail should not be overlooked. Chu Feng had become vastly stronger, yet this mysterious region could still suppress methods that dominated the outside world. Whatever power had created this place clearly stood on a level far beyond ordinary martial emperor understanding. Chu Feng and his companions continued toward that distant glow. Step by step, the darkness receded, and the light grew warmer. When they finally reached it, Chu Feng's heartbeat quickened. The glow came from a simple bonfire, its flames flickering quietly within that impossible darkness. But Chu Feng barely noticed the fire. Beside those flames sat an extremely thin ape dressed in worn, shabby clothes, a figure etched deeply into Chu Feng's memories. It was the old ape. The Heavenly Road had brought Chu Feng back to the same mysterious guardian from his past. But this time, Chu Feng was no longer the weak young cultivator who had once passed through these shadows. The question now was whether the old ape would merely greet him, or finally open the path toward the father Chu Feng had come so far to meet. Deep within the Chu clan's forbidden land, Chu Feng finally saw a familiar figure beside the strange bonfire, the old ape who had once guarded this place like an immovable mountain.
Senior.
Excitement surged through Chu Feng. Years had passed, and his cultivation had risen far beyond what it had once been. Yet when he looked at the old ape, he still could not see through the depths of that existence. That alone revealed something terrifying. Chu Feng's horizons had expanded enormously, yet the old ape remained unfathomable. The stronger Chu Feng became, the more clearly he could recognize just how deep the waters surrounding his father truly were.
So you've come, Chu Feng.
The old ape rose, and a faint smile appeared upon his face. It was a completely different reception from their first meeting. Back then, his gaze toward Chu Feng had been cold and ferocious. Now that hostility had vanished, replaced by an almost unexpected warmth. It was almost as though he had known this day would come, and had been waiting for Chu Feng to return. The blind old man immediately stepped forward and prepared to kneel.
This old servant pays his respects to my lord.
Before his knees could touch the ground, however, the old ape merely swept his sleeve. An invisible force lifted the blind old man upright without effort.
There's no need to be overly courteous. Quickly go in with Chu Feng.
Then the old ape's gaze shifted toward the 4 great divine beasts.
However, as for the 4 of them, their statuses are too low. They are not allowed to enter the Chu clan's forbidden area.
Having spoken, he calmly returned to his cross-legged position beside the peculiar bonfire, as if the matter required no further discussion. Under ordinary circumstances, beings as proud as the 4 great divine beasts would never tolerate being dismissed as low in status. Yet this time, not one of them dared reveal even a trace of anger. Instead, the 4 ancient beasts obediently settled beside the bonfire. Their silence was not cowardice, it was instinct. The old ape stood on a level even the blind old man could not compare with, and none of them could determine his true cultivation. Before an existence capable of extinguishing them effortlessly, pride was nothing but a shortcut to death. If the old ape truly wished them dead, the 4 knew that even the slightest attack from him might be more than enough. And because of that, another realization settled into their hearts. Chu Feng's background was even more extraordinary than they had imagined. For the 4 great divine beasts, this forbidden land was becoming a glimpse beyond the limits of the holy land of martialism. The more they witnessed, the more eagerly they anticipated the outer world that awaited them. Chu Feng and the blind old man continued deeper into the forbidden region. Before long, they arrived at a place Chu Feng could never forget, his own tombstone. That false grave had been erected for Chu Feng long ago, a deception meant for the people of the Chu clan. It had once been destroyed by the man named Chu Kong Tong, but now it stood restored once more. Yet when Chu Feng looked toward the tombstone, joy, not bitterness, filled his heart. For beside that monument stood a woman whose elegant bearing resembled that of a celestial fairy. It was Xiling. She was completely unharmed. Better still, her aura had advanced dramatically. Xiling had already stepped into the realm of a rank 1 martial emperor. Compared with Chu Feng's present cultivation, rank 1 martial emperor was no longer astonishing. But compared with the Xiling of the past, this was tremendous progress. More importantly, the cultivation realm mattered less to Chu Feng than the simple truth before his eyes. She was safe.
Xiling.
Chu Feng hurried to her, placing his hands upon her shoulders as he carefully looked her over from head to toe.
Let me see if my foolish little girl is fine.
Rest assured, I'm fine.
Xiling smiled, then turned toward the blind old man.
Master, please rest assured too. I am completely healed.
That's great. That's great.
The blind old man nodded repeatedly, his face covered in relief. Though he often carried himself with solemnity, he was not without affection. He had once instructed Xiling and the others, and that bond had never completely disappeared.
However, Miss Xiling, this old servant has now revealed his true identity to Master Yu. No longer need to address this old servant as Master. This old servant is unworthy of that title.
Xiling seemed about to reply. Then, as if remembering something important, she stopped herself. Instead, she looked directly at Chu Feng.
Chu Feng, go on ahead. Your father is waiting for you.
Those few words struck Chu Feng harder than any martial technique. His heart thumped violently.
Xiling, my father is willing to meet me now.
He almost could not believe what he had heard. Among all the dangers he had overcome, and all the enemies he had faced, few things had ever mattered to him as much as this meeting.
Don't be foolish. Go on in. That's your father waiting for you.
Very well.
Chu Feng understood immediately. His father wanted him to enter alone. And then the young man who had walked through countless killing grounds suddenly discovered that his heartbeat was racing beyond control. He had crossed perilous lands, fought desperate battles, stood before monstrous enemies, and survived situations where a single mistake meant death. Yet never had Chu Feng been this nervous. That contrast says everything about what this moment meant. Killing intent could be resisted. Powerful enemies could be challenged. But before the father he had longed to truly meet, Chu Feng was no longer merely a heaven-defying cultivator. He was a son wondering how his father would see him. Questions he could not suppress began circling through his mind. What sort of person was his father truly? Would his father like the son who now stood before him? Then, without warning, the darkness ahead began to brighten. A simple stone table emerged from the dimness, accompanied by 2 stone chairs. And upon one of those chairs sat a middle-aged man. He was not especially tall, he was not extraordinarily robust, nor did he possess some peerless appearance that would immediately dominate the eye. Even his clothes were plain and unadorned. By outward appearance alone, he seemed almost ordinary. But to Chu Feng, nothing about that man was ordinary. In Chu Feng's eyes, the man seated there possessed an indescribable majesty. No expert he had ever met seemed comparable. It felt as though the most powerful man beneath the heavens was sitting quietly before him. Perhaps that judgment was shaped by blood, longing, and everything Chu Feng had imagined across the years. But in that instant, objective strength no longer mattered. In the heart of a son finally facing his father, Chu Xuanyuan naturally stood above every other man in the world. Without hesitation, Chu Feng dropped to his knees and bowed deeply.
Chu Feng pays his respects to Lord Father.
There was no need for anyone to introduce the man. Chu Feng knew with absolute certainty that this was his father, Chu Xuanyuan. His bloodline itself was throbbing.
We are father and son, not strangers. There is no need for you to do that sort of thing.
Chu Xuanyuan did not appear to move at all. Yet an invisible power suddenly enveloped Chu Feng, gently lifting him from the ground and carrying him toward the empty stone chair. Chu Feng could not resist or control the movement. That unseen power simply placed him into the seat beside his father. Chu Xuanyuan's effortless action carried no killing intent and no display of dominance, yet precisely because it seemed so casual, it revealed an overwhelming gap. Chu Feng could not even perceive the process clearly, much less oppose it. Then Chu Xuanyuan reached toward the stone table, personally picked up a piece of dim sum, and offered it to his son.
You must be extremely wearied by your journey. You should eat some food to replenish your physical strength.
Only then did Chu Feng truly notice what had been prepared upon the table. Dim sum and fruits covered its surface. They were simple foods, without extravagant presentation, yet every single one was something Chu Feng especially liked to eat. A sudden sting touched Chu Feng's nose. There was no grand declaration here, no overwhelming treasure placed before him, and no speech about bloodline or destiny. Instead, Chu Xuanyuan had remembered what his son liked to eat. Sometimes the smallest preparation can reveal more affection than the loudest words. Chu Feng could tell that these things had been prepared with painstaking care by his father.
Thank you, Lord Father.
Chu Feng accepted the dim sum from his father's hand.
Enough with the Lord Father. I am your father, and you are my son. You are my flesh. There is nothing more related than the two of us in this world. Thus it will do if you simply address me as father. There is no need for so much etiquette between father and son.
A gentle smile rested upon Chu Xuanyuan's face, carrying the unmistakable affection of a father looking upon his child. For Chu Feng, those words quietly destroyed the distance he had feared for years. He had entered this place wondering whether his father would accept him. Chu Xuanyuan's answer was immediate. Before cultivation, status, or etiquette, they were simply father and son. The tension within Chu Feng finally loosened. A relaxed smile appeared, and without further ceremony, he picked up another piece of dim sum and took a large bite. The tension within Chu Feng finally loosened. A relaxed smile appeared, and without further ceremony, he picked up another piece of dim sum and took a large bite. He was not truly hungry. He simply wanted to taste something his biological father had personally prepared for him, for the first time in his life. The instant the dim sum entered his mouth, a warm aura spread throughout Chu Feng's entire body. The slight exhaustion accumulated from his journey disappeared almost instantly. Energy surged back into him, and even his complexion became radiant. This was no ordinary dim sum. It contained a mysterious power whose restorative effects surpassed even the strongest medicinal pellets Chu Feng currently possessed. Something of this quality could not have been produced in the Eastern Sea region. Even within the Holy Land of Martialism, Chu Feng believed there was no one capable of casually creating such food. And so he understood. The dim sum before him, along with the fruits upon the table, had almost certainly been personally made by Chu Xuanyuan. That detail makes this reunion far more powerful than a simple meeting between two great cultivators. Chu Xuanyuan could offer treasures beyond Chu Feng's understanding, yet he chose to welcome his son with food prepared by his own hand. Beneath the unfathomable cultivation and terrifying status stood something far simpler. A father who had been waiting for his son. And after everything Chu Feng endured to reach this forbidden land, perhaps the greatest revelation was not how powerful his father might be, but how much warmth had been waiting for him at the end of the road. Yet with Chu Xuanyuan finally before him, the questions surrounding Chu Feng's bloodline, his family, and the vast outer world now felt closer than ever to being answered. The reunion between father and son should have been a moment of pure warmth. Yet, beneath that warmth lay years of separation, unanswered questions, and wounds neither time nor cultivation could completely erase. Suddenly, Chu Xuanyuan's expression softened, and the mighty expert who had once shaken the martial world spoke not as a legend, but simply as a father.
Venja, you were left without your parents for all these years, because your father was incompetent. I made you suffer.
Chu Feng immediately put down the dim sum in his hand. There was no resentment in his eyes. Instead, guilt surfaced upon his face, because what Senior Ape had once revealed made him believe that the calamity of the past had begun because of him.
Father, you must not say that. Senior Ape already told me some of what happened back then. Although I still do not know the details, I know that I was the one who implicated you and Mother.
You were only a child. How could any of that have been your fault? The ones at fault were the Chu Heavenly Clan.
Those few words carried enormous weight. Chu Xuanyuan did not allow his son to inherit guilt that belonged to adults and powers far greater than him. Whatever had happened within the Chu Heavenly Clan, he clearly believed that the blame rested with the clan's actions, not with the child caught in their consequences.
Father, what exactly happened back then?
Chu Xuanyuan gave a faint smile. He knew too well how many questions had accumulated inside Chu Feng's heart. Yet before answering the mystery surrounding their family, there was something far greater his son needed to understand.
I know you have many questions. Do not be anxious. Father will explain them to you slowly. But first you need to understand this vast and boundless world of martial cultivation.
At those words, Chu Feng's heart stirred fiercely. The true scale of the martial cultivation world had always been hidden behind a veil. He had climbed from place to place, crossed seas, entered forbidden lands, and encountered terrifying experts, yet he still knew almost nothing about the world beyond his own. Now that veil was finally about to be lifted.
The known world of martial cultivation is roughly divided into 3 levels: upper realms, ordinary realms, and lower realms. After the ancient era, differences in talent gradually caused different races and clans to inhabit different worlds. Generally speaking, cultivators of the lower realms possess the weakest talent. Those of the ordinary realms stand above them, while the people of the upper realms possess considerably greater talent. As for the term outer world, it simply refers to worlds beyond the world one currently knows. To someone born in a lower realm, both an ordinary realm and an upper realm would belong to the outer world.
Then came the revelation that completely changed Chu Feng's understanding of everything beneath his feet.
And the world we are currently in is called the ancestral martial lower realm.
The ancestral martial lower realm. The world we live in is actually a world of the lowest tier.
In an instant, several pieces of the past fell into place. Chu Feng finally understood the contempt shown by the Dark Hall's Hall Master. That man had never regarded the Holy Land of Martialism as anything worthy of respect, and he had repeatedly called its inhabitants trash from a lower realm. The insult had not been meaningless arrogance. The Holy Land of Martialism and the 4 Sea regions truly existed within a lower realm. This revelation also reframed Chu Feng's previous victories. Enemies who had once seemed to stand at the summit of existence were, from the perspective of the greater cosmos, still struggling near the bottom of an unimaginably vast hierarchy. The mountain Chu Feng had been climbing was only the first mountain in an endless range.
In theory, yes. But there are exceptions to everything. It is not impossible for someone born in a lower realm to surpass experts from ordinary realms or even upper realms. After all, our Chu Heavenly Clan itself originated from this ancestral martial lower realm. Every year, outstanding individuals from other lower realms use stairways to heaven to enter ordinary realms. Those lower realms are aware of the ordinary realms and upper realms as well. Yet almost no one in the ancestral martial lower realm knows anything about those places. This realm is one of the very few lower realms that has become separated from the outer world. Do you know why?
Chu Feng immediately thought of the pathways that connected his world to greater realms. In the Eastern Sea region, there was the stairway to heaven within Misty Peak. In the Holy Land of Martialism, another known stairway to heaven existed in the realm of gods. Yet with the blind old man and the others guarding that place, practically no one from the Holy Land could make use of it.
It is because of the Chu Heavenly Clan. Our clan sealed the only stairway to heaven that could lead toward the ordinary realms.
That thought left a bitter taste in Chu Feng's heart. If this were the entire reason, then the Chu Heavenly Clan had effectively taken away an opportunity that should have belonged to all cultivators of this world, the chance to step beyond their realm and seek a broader martial path. Chu Xuanyuan merely smiled.
That is only part of the reason. It is not the main reason. If true experts were to rise here, they would not be stopped merely because others wished to stop them.
Chu Feng understood the implication immediately, and it was far harsher than blaming a sealed road.
Father, are you saying that the cultivators of the ancestral martial lower realm are inferior even compared with those of other lower realms?
Chu Xuanyuan sighed.
That is indeed the case. Aside from our Chu Heavenly Clan, the talent of the people born in the ancestral martial lower realm is genuinely lacking. It is not merely that they cannot enter the outer world. Even if they reached the higher ordinary realms, many of them would only be bullied or enslaved. Think about it. The famous experts who stand proudly at the peak here, if they entered an ordinary realm, they might become some of the weakest people there. Would that not be lamentable?
Indeed.
This was one of the cruelest truths of cultivation. Strength was always relative. A martial emperor worshipped like a god in one world could become insignificant after crossing into another. Titles, fame, and reputation could not travel upward with a cultivator unless true power was strong enough to support them. Yet Chu Xuanyuan had not reached the most important part.
However, that is not what matters most. Do you know why this world is called the ancestral martial lower realm?
Why?
According to legends from the ancient era, this place was the birthplace of martial cultivators. The legendary fate primogenitor was born here.
The words struck Chu Feng like distant thunder. His memories immediately returned to the Eastern Sea region, to the everlasting Sea of Blood, and to the ancient tale the blind old man had told him when they first met.
Then the legend blind uncle told me about the ancient era was true.
The ancient era is far too distant. Who can truly say which stories from that age are real and which are not? But whether those legends are true or false for a lower realm, with such an extraordinary past to decline to its current state, is still extremely lamentable.
Then Xuanyuan gave his son a lesson harsher than any cultivation technique.
So you cannot simply blame others for looking down upon the people here. Whether another person is arrogant is their own affair. But if you yourself are weak, you cannot stop others from looking down on you. If a weak person uses another's arrogance as an excuse, while refusing to face their own weakness, they are only deceiving themselves.
Father is right.
Chu Feng genuinely accepted those words. It might indeed be wrong for the strong to humiliate the weak, but weakness itself could never become armor against contempt. If one wished to change how the world regarded them, then in the martial world strength remained the most undeniable answer. For Chu Feng, this lesson was especially important. He had already become an existence capable of standing above nearly everyone in the Holy Land of martialism. That kind of success could easily create complacency. Chu Xuanyuan was shattering that illusion before it ever had the chance to take root. Chu Xuanyuan's expression became serious.
Fenji, you must remember this as well. Here your talent may be considered exceptional. You may stand above all others, and people may call you a peerless genius. But you must never become conceited. Because the place you are standing in is the weakest lower realm among the lower realms. And you should originally belong to an upper realm.
Chu Feng's gaze sharpened. One sentence had suddenly pushed the mystery of his bloodline into an entirely different height.
Father, are you saying that the Chu Heavenly Clan is not in an ordinary realm, but in an upper realm?
The Chu Heavenly Clan is not merely located in an upper realm.
Even Chu Feng could not hide his admiration. He had known that his clan was extraordinary, but he had never imagined its status to be so high. Even Chu Feng could not hide his admiration. He had known that his clan was extraordinary, but he had never imagined its status to be so high. Yet his emotions were complicated. Chu Feng hated those within the Chu Heavenly Clan who had deliberately made life difficult for him and his father. But hatred towards certain people did not erase the blood flowing through his veins, nor did it erase the achievements of the clan's countless predecessors. The Chu Heavenly Clan had originated from this very lower realm. To climb from such a humble beginning and eventually become the ruler of an upper realm could not possibly have been easy. Chu Feng could almost imagine that path, a road paved with generations of struggle, sacrifice, and blood. Such a foundation did not belong only to those clan members he despised. It had been forged by countless seniors before them, and that legacy deserved respect. This distinction reveals an important part of Chu Feng's character. He can hate injustice without blindly hating everything connected to its source. The people who wronged his family are his enemies, but the history and sacrifices of his ancestors are something different. That ability to separate personal hatred from ancestral legacy gives his reaction far more depth than simple clan pride. But Chu Xuanyuan was not finished expanding his son's horizon.
Avenger, do not let your vision stop there. Upper realms are indeed powerful, but throughout the vast outer world, there are countless upper realms. And above those upper realms, there are many starfields.
Starfields.
Chu Feng's eyes brightened. The scale of the world he had imagined only moments earlier was expanding once again.
If the lower realms, ordinary realms, and upper realms can be compared to steps ascending through the heavens, then a starfield is an entire region of the starry sky. Each starfield is ruled by an extraordinarily powerful force. And the ambition of the Chu Heavenly Clan is to become the ruler of a starfield.
Chu Feng involuntarily drew in a cold breath. He had already suspected that the outer world must be vast, but only now did he begin to comprehend just how insignificant his former understanding had been. Eggy had mocked him more than once for being a frog sitting at the bottom of a well, seeing only a tiny fragment of the heavens. Chu Feng had understood the insult, but until this moment he had never truly grasped its scale. Lower realms, ordinary realms, upper realms, and beyond them, starfields containing countless worlds beneath their dominion. And this may be the most important revelation of the entire conversation. Chu Feng has not reached the summit. He has barely discovered where the mountain begins. Every achievement that once seemed heaven-defying must now be measured against geniuses born in ordinary realms, upper realms, and powers capable of ruling entire starfields. For those following Chu Feng's journey, this changes the meaning of everything ahead. The question is no longer whether he can dominate the world he knows. The greater question is what will happen when a genius raised in the weakest lower realm finally steps into a sky filled with monsters who have enjoyed advantages he never possessed. Compared with that enormous outer world, a single cultivator was unimaginably small. Even the entire ancestral martial lower realm might amount to little more than a single grain lost within a boundless sea. Above Chu Feng stretched a sky filled with countless stars, and somewhere beyond those stars stood the Chu Heavenly Clan, the upper realm it ruled, the starfield it dreamed of conquering, and the true martial world that Chu Feng had yet to enter. The secrets surrounding Chu Feng's birth had already drawn him deep into a past buried beneath years of silence. Yet what Chu Xuanyuan was about to reveal next concerned something even greater: the bloodline, glory, and humiliation of the clan from which they came.
Next, I'll tell you about our clan, the Chu Heavenly Clan.
At those words, Chu Feng's attention sharpened immediately. He had crossed countless dangers and risen to the summit of the holy land of martialism, yet the clan carrying his own surname remained a vast mystery to him.
The Chu Heavenly Clan originated from the ancestral martial lower realm. You already know that much. Today, the Chu Heavenly Clan possesses considerable status in the outer world. I believe you have already realized that as well. But what I wish to tell you now concerns two extraordinary individuals who appeared in the history of our Chu Heavenly Clan. The first was Chu Hanxian. The second was Chu Hanxian.
The two names carried the weight of generations. They were not merely powerful cultivators recorded in an ancestral genealogy. Their achievements had determined how high the Chu Heavenly Clan could stand beneath the heavens.
Chu Hanxian is an ancestor-level figure of our clan. He was the one who led the Chu Heavenly Clan out of this lower realm and into an ordinary realm. Afterward, he led our clan into an upper realm fort until we established ourselves there and seized the status of ruler.
Tens of thousands of years had passed, yet the Chu Heavenly Clan still remained an overlord of an upper realm. That fact alone revealed the scale of Chu Hanxian's achievement. He had not merely conquered powerful enemies in his own era, He had created a foundation strong enough to endure across countless generations.
His contribution to the Chu Heavenly Clan is something no one else can compare with. As for Chu Hanxian, he possessed the greatest talent to appear after Chu Yexianhong. His strength even surpassed Chu Yexianhong's. He was once the hope of the Chu Heavenly Clan, the man people believed could lead the clan beyond ruling an upper realm, and allow it to become the ruler of an entire starfield.
From an upper realm overlord to the ruler of a starfield, the difference between those two positions was enormous. Chu Hanxian's existence represented more than personal genius. To the clan, he was a possible bridge toward an entirely higher level of power and influence.
Unfortunately, Chu Hanxian later entered another starfield. From that moment onward, the Chu Heavenly Clan never received any news from him again. Although what happened to him was deeply regrettable, everyone in the Chu Heavenly Clan remembered what he had done for the clan. And you more than anyone else should remember him.
Because Chu Hanxian is my father and your grandfather.
Grandfather.
Chu Feng froze. He had always known that his father was extraordinary, but now another towering figure had appeared behind that shadow. His own grandfather had once been regarded as the greatest hope of the Chu Heavenly Clan, after its legendary ancestor.
Father, is there truly no news of grandfather? Has he died?
His concern had nothing to do with Chu Hanxian's terrifying reputation. Whether his grandfather had once stood above countless experts no longer mattered. Blood was blood. Chu Feng simply hoped that the elder he had never met might still be alive somewhere beneath the same heavens.
I searched for him before, but I found nothing. Unfortunately, everything seems to indicate that your grandfather is most likely no longer alive. You do not need to concern yourself with matters involving your grandfather, and you must not interfere with them yourself.
Chu Feng's heart trembled. Those words were too deliberate to be casual. Chu Xuanyuan had not simply said that the trail was lost. He had specifically warned his son not to investigate. To Chu Feng, that could only mean one thing. His grandfather's disappearance concealed circumstances far more dangerous than they appeared.
Chu Feng, there is something else you must understand. Within the Chu Heavenly Clan, our branch is a single direct bloodline. Your grandfather had only one son, me. And I have only one son, you. By all reason, we father and son should have enjoyed endless glory and honor within the Chu Heavenly Clan. Even putting aside everything your grandfather contributed, your father was not some nameless nobody either. And yet we were reduced to being punished here inside this forbidden land that devours cultivation.
The contrast was cruel, descendants of two figures capable of shaking the Chu. Chu Heavenly Clan had not been living amid ancestral halls and boundless honor. Instead, father and son had been cast into a place where cultivation itself could be swallowed away.
Father, what exactly happened back then? Please tell me.
Chu Feng had asked before, but now the desire for truth burned even more fiercely. The mystery was no longer merely about his father. It concerned his birth, his bloodline, his grandfather, and the reason their entire branch had fallen from glory into disgrace.
Back then, the reason the two of us were driven from the Chu Heavenly Clan and sent into this forbidden area was me, your father. And everything began because of a rule within the Chu Heavenly Clan. Whenever a child is born into the clan, that child must undergo a talent examination. The test is extremely important because its result determines how the clan will treat that child in the future, and that treatment can determine the child's fate.
In a mighty heavenly clan, talent was not merely something praised by elders. It determined resources, status, expectations, and opportunity. A single test taken at birth could place one child upon a road toward the heavens, while condemning another to remain beneath everyone else.
Because you were my son and Chu Hanxian's grandson, countless people were watching. Not merely members of our clan, even outsiders paid close attention to what kind of talent you would reveal. News of your examinations spread far and wide. And in order to display the Chu Heavenly Clans, might the clan invited a vast number of guests to witness your talent being tested publicly.
The stage could hardly have been larger. A grandson of Chu Hanxian, a son of Chu Xuanyuan, was about to reveal his bloodline before experts from many powers. Expectations must have towered like mountains.
Unfortunately, the result was not satisfactory.
How could he not be curious? This was his own beginning, the judgment the Chu Heavenly Clan had placed upon him before he was even old enough to understand what cultivation meant. How could he not be curious? This was his own beginning, the judgment the Chu Heavenly Clan had placed upon him before he was even old enough to understand what cultivation meant.
If your result had been ordinary, that would have been acceptable. Better than ordinary would have been excellent. Worse than ordinary would merely have meant that you were inferior. But your result belonged to none of those three categories.
None of the three.
It meant that you did not possess the Chu Heavenly Clan's bloodline. According to that examination, you possessed no talent at all.
I was actually such trash.
Shock crashed through Chu Feng's heart. In the Eastern Sea region, he had been regarded as an exceptional genius. In the holy land of martialism, he had climbed through impossible trials and stood above countless peers. Yet according to the clan into which he had been born, he had once been judged as someone without even the most basic talent. That contradiction struck directly at Chu Feng's understanding of himself. He had spent his life proving that he possessed extraordinary potential. Yet the very people who should have known his bloodline best had once declared that there was nothing within him at all.
Father, something is wrong. If that examination was accurate, then I shouldn't possess any inherited blood. But I clearly...
But you do possess one. Nevertheless, the result back then was exactly as I described. And at that time it truly appeared that you did not possess the Chu Heavenly Clan's inherited bloodline. You may take that contradiction as evidence that someone tampered with your examination. At the very least, I am completely convinced that your test was manipulated.
This changed the meaning of Chu Feng's humiliation entirely. If the examination had truly been tampered with, then his disgrace was not simply the consequence of poor talent. Someone may have deliberately made Chu Hanxian's grandson appear worthless before the entire martial world.
At the time, I demanded that you be tested again. However,
Chu Xuanyuan stopped. A sigh escaped him, heavy with memories that even after all these years had not lost their edge.
Father, what happened?
Your grandfather was renowned throughout the upper realm, but during his rise, he also made many enemies. Some of those enemies were present on the day of your examination. When they saw that you apparently possessed no heaven-defying inherited bloodline, some of them began insulting you openly. You are my son. How could I possibly stand there and allow others to humiliate you? So your father killed every person who dared to belittle you.
The answer fell with the weight of a blade. There was no elaborate defense, no attempt to soften what had happened. Chu Xuanyuan had heard others disgrace his son, and his response had been absolute. For Chu Xuanyuan, this had ceased to be a question of clan politics the moment Chu Feng became the target. His reaction showed the depth of a father's protection. But it also gave his enemies exactly the opening they needed to turn personal hostility into a clan-level crisis.
Naturally, our enemies were furious. They demanded that I answer for what I had done. And unfortunately, there were already many people within the Chu Heavenly Clan who disliked me. Being attacked by outsiders was nothing. What was truly frightening was that members of our own Chu Heavenly Clan also began attacking me.
That was the wound beneath the wound. Enemies seeking revenge could be expected, but when one's own clansmen joined them, blood ties became colder than steel. The greatest danger had not come from those standing outside the clan gates. It had come from people carrying the same surname.
And so in the end, we father and son were banished from the Chu Heavenly Clan. Strictly speaking, neither of us can even be considered a member of the Chu Heavenly Clan anymore.
A faint, bitter smile appeared on Chu Xuanyuan's face.
You were banished from the Chu Heavenly Clan.
Only moments earlier, Chu Feng had felt pride upon learning that such a powerful heavenly clan stood behind his bloodline. Now that pride had been overturned, he had never truly possessed the status he imagined. Before he had even understood the meaning of his surname, the clan had already cast him away. Chu Xuanyuan merely smiled. He raised a hand and gently tapped Chu Feng upon the forehead. A strange warmth immediately spread across the spot. Then Chu Xuanyuan produced a mirror and handed it to his son.
Fenja, remember this symbol. This is the humiliation that our clan, the Chu Heavenly Clan, inflicted upon us.
Chu Feng looked into the mirror. His heart tightened violently. There, upon his forehead, was a single character. It looked less like ordinary writing, and more like a brand burned into his very existence. It read trash. Anger erupted within Chu Feng like a storm breaking through a sealed sky. This was not merely a judgment made long ago. It was a humiliation deliberately carved into him by the clan whose blood flowed through his veins.
We father and son are people who were expelled from our clan.
As Chu Xuanyuan spoke, light emerged from his own forehead. The same character appeared upon him. Trash.
That is the brand the Chu Heavenly Clan placed upon the two of us. It is branded upon our souls. It cannot be erased. And even if the mark itself could someday disappear, the humiliation that the Chu Heavenly Clan gave us cannot be erased.
Damn it.
When Chu Feng had seen the mark upon his own forehead, he had been furious. But seeing the exact same humiliation carved upon his father caused that fury to multiply many times over. This was the point where Chu Feng's anger became something deeper than wounded pride. He could endure insults directed at himself, but the sight of Chu Xuanyuan bearing that same brand transformed the humiliation into a debt owed to his father as well. Yet beneath the anger, another emotion began gnawing at him: guilt. His father had once slaughtered those who insulted him simply because he could not tolerate seeing his son humiliated. That realization deeply moved Chu Feng. At the same time, it made his heart unbearably heavy. There was no longer any question of how much Chu Xuanyuan loved him, but Chu Feng could not stop himself from thinking that if his talent had not appeared so weak back then, if others had not been able to exploit that weakness, perhaps father and son would never have fallen into their present circumstances. From Chu Feng's perspective, the entire tragedy seemed to trace back to him. Yet the revelation that his examination may have been manipulated makes that self-blame painfully complicated. The child blamed for causing disaster may himself have been the victim of someone else's scheme. Only now did Chu Feng fully understand the words the old ape had spoken long ago. His father truly had lost his honor because of what happened surrounding him. And in Chu Feng's heart, one merciless conclusion remained. Everything had been caused by him. But this truth also plants something dangerous for the future. Chu Feng now knows that his disgrace may have been manufactured, that his father was betrayed by members of his own clan, and that the word trash has been branded upon both their souls. For someone who has spent his entire path overturning every judgment placed upon him, such a humiliation is unlikely to remain unanswered forever. The truth Chu Feng had waited so long to hear was far harsher than simple exile. Chu Xuanyuan revealed that father and son had already been expelled from the Chu Heavenly Clan. Had they merely been forced to leave, perhaps the matter could have ended there. But their own clansmen had attacked them, stripped away their freedom, and confined them within a place no ordinary clansman was permitted to enter.
Actually, we father and son were already expelled. If we had simply left the Chu Heavenly Clan, that would have been one thing. But our clansmen attacked us. In the end, even our freedom was taken away, and we were placed under house arrest.
Chu Xuanyuan's voice remained calm, yet what followed carried a chill deeper than any prison wall. This was not merely a secluded location chosen to hide disgraced clansmen. It was the forbidden area of the Chu Heavenly Clan itself.
Being imprisoned elsewhere would have been one matter. But they chose this place. This is the forbidden area of the Chu Heavenly Clan. To put it pleasantly, we are being imprisoned here. In truth, they intend to dispose of us father and son.
Those words struck Chu Feng like thunder. Rage surged through his veins, fierce enough to drown reason itself. His teeth clenched. Killing intent spilled from him in waves. For one burning instant, the hatred in his heart was so intense that he wished he could erase every member of the Chu clan who had brought this humiliation upon his family.
Damn it! The people of the Chu clan all deserve to die.
Chu Feng's fury was more than a son's anger. It was the eruption of years spent wandering without answers, suddenly given a name and a target. Yet Chu Xuanyuan did not extinguish that anger. He wanted his son to remember it, but to transform humiliation into strength rather than allow hatred to consume his path.
Good. It is right for you to be furious. If you lacked that staunchness and temperament, you would not be a man, much less my Chu Xuanyuan's son, and Chu Hanxian's grandson. Venja, remember this humiliation. It was inflicted upon us by the Chu clan. If we wish to erase it, then we must erase it with our own hands.
Then Chu Xuanyuan revealed an even crueler truth about the martial world. Strength was not the only currency. Talent itself could alter judgment, punishment, and destiny.
Back then, if you had possessed outstanding talent, even if I had openly massacred others, the clan chief would have considered the future of the clan. He would not have treated us father and son this way. You must understand this as well. Had I not sent you away back, then, with the constitution your body possessed at the time, you would certainly have died inside this forbidden area.
The revelation sharpened Chu Feng's resolve. His father had not sent him away without reason. That separation, painful as it had been, had saved his life.
Father, what must I do?
Chu Xuanyuan's answer was simple, yet it contained the burden of an entire bloodline.
You must prove yourself. Prove yourself to the people of the Chu Heavenly Clan. Prove yourself to everyone beneath the heavens. Most importantly, prove to yourself that you Chu Feng possess talent inferior to no one. But before that, you must first understand your inherited bloodline.
The word bloodline caused something inside Chu Feng to stir. Heat rose through his body, almost as though the lightning hidden in his veins had heard its own name.
Bloodline.
For years, Chu Feng had known that his bloodline was extraordinary. He had felt its power, relied upon its advantages, and witnessed the terrifying lightning beasts connected to it. Yet he had never truly understood what it was. Now at last the veil was about to be lifted.
The inherited bloodline of our Chu Heavenly Clan is called the Heavenly Bloodline. It is also known as the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline. The Heavenly Lightning Bloodline is formed from 9 enormous lightning beasts. It is an exalted bloodline far superior to imperial bloodlines.
That single explanation placed Chu Feng's mysterious power within an entirely greater hierarchy. His lightning was not merely a powerful cultivation advantage. It belonged to a bloodline standing above imperial bloodlines, and those 9 colossal beasts were not external guardians. They were manifestations connected to his inheritance itself.
Those born with the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline share one common trait. From birth, they are destined to possess overwhelming talent beyond ordinary people. Venja, you should already understand this personally. As long as the current you obtains sufficient cultivation resources, your cultivation can continue to rise. Bottlenecks are almost non-existent for you. Even when one appears, you break through it before long. Am I correct?
That is indeed the case.
Chu Feng nodded repeatedly. Everything his father described matched his cultivation journey. Where countless cultivators struggled for years against barriers between realms, Chu Feng's greatest problem was often obtaining enough resources. But then Chu Xuanyuan revealed the hidden price of that seemingly heaven-defying gift.
Possessors of the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline are destined to surpass ordinary people, but they are not omnipotent. If you continue cultivating in your current manner, reaching half-martial ancestor would not be difficult. However, becoming a martial ancestor would be practically impossible.
Chu Feng's eyes widened. That was no minor limitation. It concerned the ceiling of his martial path itself.
Why?
That is the weakness of the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline. If you endlessly rely upon its natural talent, your future achievements will inevitably become limited.
The contradiction was striking. The very bloodline that allowed Chu Feng to advance with astonishing ease could eventually become the chain that stopped him. In the cultivation world, effortless progress could create a foundation incapable of supporting the highest realms.
Father, is there a way to resolve it?
Xianxia, do not worry. For the Chu Heavenly Clan to have reached its present accomplishments, naturally, we possess a method.
The solution sounded simple when spoken, but its consequences were anything but. Members of the Chu Heavenly Clan cultivated special mysterious techniques capable of fusing with the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline.
Once one cultivates such a mysterious technique, the overwhelming natural advantage of the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline will disappear. Every cultivation breakthrough will then contain a bottleneck. Only through your own comprehension can you overcome those barriers. Furthermore, at crucial moments of breakthrough, the mysterious technique will release its unique power and summon a calamity. Only those who survive that calamity can truly complete their breakthrough. Because of this characteristic, these techniques are collectively known as self-punishing mysterious techniques.
Self-punishing mysterious techniques.
Even the name caused Chu Feng's heart to tremble.
Self-punishment means punishing oneself for gaining cultivation, without using the comprehension that other cultivators must obtain through painstaking effort.
Until this moment, Chu Feng had simply thought of his inherited bloodline as overwhelmingly powerful. He had never imagined that such power contained an entire system of restrictions, trials, and dangerous methods designed to force its wielder to earn what heaven had seemingly granted for free. In a sense, the self-punishing mysterious techniques corrected the imbalance created by the Heavenly Lightning Bloodline. Talent could open the gate, but comprehension, endurance, and courage would decide how far beyond that gate a cultivator could truly walk.
There is no free meal beneath the heavens. What one pays and what one obtains are directly connected. To expect a harvest without paying a price is nothing more than fantasy. And even among self-punishing mysterious techniques, different levels exist. The level you choose will influence the achievements you are capable of reaching in the future.
Then came the three names, each heavier than the last.
From weakest to strongest, they are mortal punishment, earthen punishment, and heaven punishment.
Chu Xuanyuan began with mortal punishment, the most common of the three.
With every cultivation breakthrough, the mortal punishment mysterious technique automatically draws forth the enormous lightning beasts within one's Heavenly Lightning Bloodline, and causes them to bombard one's body.
Chu Feng was stunned. He knew better than most how horrifying those enormous lightning beasts were.
The enormous lightning beasts actually attack the cultivator.
All this time, Chu Feng had been grateful that those terrifying beings were part of his bloodline rather than his enemies. Yet cultivating mortal punishment meant voluntarily standing beneath their lightning and enduring their assault. Merely imagining that scene sent a chill across him.
Mortal punishment is the most ordinary. Most possessors of heavenly bloodlines in the outer world cultivate a mortal punishment mysterious technique. Above mortal punishment stands earthen punishment.
And with that next level, the nature of the danger changed entirely.
Those cultivating earthen punishment encounter more difficult bottlenecks and far stronger calamities. They are no longer merely punished by their own inherited bloodline. The earthen punishment mysterious technique summons divine lightning from the earth itself to strike their bodies. No matter how powerful the enormous lightning beasts, maybe they still belong to you. Even while punishing you, they will not deliberately seek your death. But the divine lightning of the earth is foreign power. It will show you no mercy.
That difference was crucial. Mortal punishment was a trial imposed by one's own bloodline. Earthen punishment invited an outside force of destruction into the breakthrough. From that level onward, failure no longer meant merely being blocked. It could mean death.
For precisely that reason, only those possessing exceptional talent, sufficient confidence, and enough courage dare to cultivate earthen punishment.
Then Chu Xuanyuan spoke of heaven punishment.
As for heaven punishment, which stands above earthen punishment, it is even more dreadful. Its bottlenecks are so difficult that overcoming them is comparable to ascending the heavens. And the divine lightning descending from the depths of the outer world cannot be compared to the divine lightning of the earth. When that divine lightning descends, the danger is not limited to the cultivator. Everything surrounding that person can be destroyed as well. Thus very few people dare to cultivate the heaven punishment mysterious technique.
Chu Feng could only agree. Even hearing the description was enough to understand why so few would choose such a road. Every breakthrough would become a confrontation with lightning descending from beyond the world itself.
Indeed.
Yet the hierarchy of the three techniques contained another restriction. They could not simply be chosen at any cultivation realm.
Because mortal punishment, earthen punishment, and heaven punishment belong to different levels, the cultivation realm, at which one can begin training them, also differs. Mortal punishment can be cultivated upon reaching the Martial King realm. Earthen punishment can be cultivated at the half-Martial Emperor realm. And heaven punishment can be cultivated at the Martial Emperor realm.
At that instant, the pieces joined together inside Chu Feng's mind. He was already a rank 7 Martial Emperor. The opportunity to begin mortal punishment had long passed. So too had the stage for earthen punishment. Only one of the three remained. Cold sweat gradually appeared on Chu Feng's brow, despite the composure on his face.
Father, I am already a rank 7 Martial Emperor. I can no longer cultivate mortal punishment or earthen punishment. Could it be that you waited until now because you had already prepared for me to cultivate the heaven punishment mysterious technique?
The thought carried more weight than simple fear. Chu Feng was beginning to understand what his father's absence had truly meant. Even though Chu Xuanyuan had not walked beside him throughout his journey, Chu Feng could now sense that his father had been observing him from the shadows. Allowing him to face danger alone had not meant abandoning him. It had been a ruthless form of nurturing. Chu Xuanyuan's method was merciless precisely because his expectations were enormous. He had not protected Chu Feng from every danger. He had allowed adversity to temper survival instinct, judgment, willpower, and courage. To him, sheltering Chu Feng completely might have preserved his life while destroying the possibility of greatness. His father had never truly given up on him. He had simply chosen a harsher road for his son than Chu Feng had ever imagined. And if Chu Xuanyuan had deliberately waited until Chu Feng reached the Martial Emperor realm before explaining self-punishing, mysterious techniques, then there appeared to be only one conclusion. His father wanted him to walk the most dangerous path among the three. For Chu Feng, this realization was both terrifying and strangely fitting. A lesser technique might have been safer, but everything about his journey had already proven that ordinary roads were rarely meant for him. Still, Heaven punishment was no symbolic trial. One failed breakthrough beneath that divine lightning could cost him everything. Chu Feng wanted extraordinary accomplishments. Yet another thought inevitably followed. No matter how high his father's expectations were, could Chu Xuanyuan truly be unafraid that his own son might be struck dead by divine lightning? But upon hearing Chu Feng's conclusion, Chu Xuanyuan merely smiled. There was no hesitation in that smile.
No.
One word overturned Chu Feng's entire deduction.
What you will cultivate is not the heaven punishment, mysterious technique.
If heaven punishment already stood above mortal punishment and earthen punishment, what could possibly remain beyond it? At this moment, even the hierarchy Chu Xuanyuan had carefully established was shattered. He had led Chu Feng and us up 3 increasingly dangerous steps, only to reveal that the true path prepared for his son stood beyond all 3. Chu Xuanyuan's final words descended like heavenly thunder.
Instead, what you will cultivate is divine punishment.